Hey, welcome to the Ready to Lose podcast, where we look at what's going on in our brains to create the health and weight loss that we want. My name's Billy Blake, and I'm a certified life and weight loss coach determined to help women love themselves all the way to their goal. It's time to start losing weight in a way that actually feels like us and creating that healthy life that we love showing up for every single day. So tell me, are you ready to lose? Let's go.
Hello, welcome back to the podcast. I have to tell you something so funny now, and it will be funny after this is done, but I just recorded this episode, or I thought I was, and it turns out my audio wasn't connected, so I was just yapping for 25 minutes, and none of it was captured, but it's okay. This is not the first time something like this has happened to me as a podcaster. One thought, actually, I got this from another podcaster, someone that I listen to her show, and she says when stuff like this happens, because I think it's a universal experience if you have a podcast or if you do any kind of content creation, there's going to be takes that don't work. And I've always used this thought because I think I heard it early on in my podcasting career, but she's like, when this happens and I have to re-record something, I just know it's going to be better. It's going to be even better the second time. It was always meant to happen this way. This is going to be an even better version of what I just recorded. I am sure of it. Okay. So what were we talking about? What was I just talking about for 25 minutes? I will tell you. I was talking about my plan and my goal to lose weight this summer. So this summer, I want to lose a little extra weight. So I originally lost weight in 2018 and I lost 15 pounds in 3 months. At that point, I was in like the high 150s. When I remember starting again with the Ready to Lose tools, I was around 155. And then I got down to 140 pretty quickly just by using the 4 habits we use here, right? Planning my food each day, listening to my hunger cues, drinking more water, getting good sleep. And I wasn't even like all or nothing with it, right? Like I let myself take steps to start implementing these habits. But once I really committed to taking action on them each day and getting better with them, that's when I lost weight. And it was so much easier than I ever thought it would be. But then after that, after 2020, after we got married, even through like the stress of wedding planning, I was able to maintain that weight. At one point, my lowest weight I got down to was like 136. Okay. So that's where I was. And then when we moved into our house and we got a puppy, you guys know when I got Akira, my habits like went all over the place, my routines and habits, taking care of a little tiny puppy who needed more time and attention. And then also the stress of moving into a different house and all of that. So at that point, I gained a little weight, but I was still like low 140s at that point. And I kind of stayed there for like a year and a half. And at that time too, I was also building up my exercise and my lifting routine. So I was getting physically stronger at that time, building muscle. So I was doing that as well. And then after that, we got into this HIIT workout program with a few of our friends. You guys have probably heard me talk about it on here before. I really loved that. I really loved the community of this workout class. It was kind of like, looking back at it now, it was definitely a little cultish, I would say. Like there's definitely a strong following for this group, but there's also some things that were problematic. Anyway, that's not really the point. We loved going, but it was like such a strong community that I felt like I was missing out if I didn't go. Like I love the gym now, but if I don't go, I don't get FOMO. If I don't go to the gym one day, if I don't go to my usual gym, this gym and this workout program, I would get FOMO. I'm like, what did they do today? I've got to be there. It was really intense, which is fine. But the workouts themselves were also really intense. It was like HIIT functional training style. And that just was a lot more stress on my body than I was used to. And so when I started doing that, I started eating more. My hunger cues got a little wacky. I all of a sudden was hungry like all the time. And I do think this is what people are talking about when they are talking about like stress on your body and how it impacts your hunger signals and your like cortisol and stress. And I do think at this point I was increasing stress on my body. So I was gaining some muscle at this time, but I was also gaining fat, like weight that I didn't want to gain just because I was so much hungrier. And then also at that time, this was kind of like a a whammy, like it kind of things building up at the same time, there were some things going on in my personal life that were feeling hard or out of my control. And I was also emotionally coping with food a little more, right? It was nothing like super intense, but it was enough that I was gaining weight and not feeling it as in tune with my body and as controlled with my food and intentional with my food. So that was happening. And I do think now, again, looking back, again, I love those workouts, but also when we did that workout program for like 6 to 8 months, I didn't really get any stronger than I was before. I was able to do certain things better, like jumping around, doing all the jumping around, intense, crazy, wacky stuff. Like I was able to do some of that stuff more. But when I look at like my chest press, my rows, like deadlifts, even like all these lifts that when I'm pushing myself that hard, you would think I'd be getting stronger. I'd be able to lift more. I really wasn't. And so I just think that plus how I was feeling in my body and my hunger cues, I just don't think intense training is it for me. And this is really, side note, this is just why it's so important to learn how to listen to your body and trust what your body is telling you. Because for some people, they loved it and they did get stronger while doing that. They did feel better while doing that. And while, again, I loved being there and working out does always feel great, that style of working out doesn't feel as good as what I was doing before and even what we do now, like especially coming back to our own style of lifting and weight training and like just walking instead of jumping around all crazy all the time. I just physically feel so much better. And I do get stronger. And, it is easy to listen to my hunger cues, all of those things. But anyway, all that to say, long story short, that threw me for a loop with my hunger cues. And then, okay, so that happened. And I was kind of in that space. I kind of like was hanging on to that weight for another year. And then in 2025, y'all know, if you listen to the podcast, if you don't know, I fell down the stairs. It was not even the ice or the snow. It was just me running down our stairs inside our house, our wooden stairs. I slipped and hurt my back. Okay. And I was in the most intense pain I've ever experienced ever. I did get so depressed, so scared that I would never feel better. At the same time, when all I could do was lay on my side and ice my back and take ibuprofen and just wait until this inflammation went down, this trauma to my back chilled out so that pain went away, my hunger cues became so much more important to me. And I think part of it was that like my body was screaming at me with pain of like, here's what you can't do. Don't do that. That hurts. Just stay here. Don't move around a lot. Don't try doing crazy stuff. Don't like do anything. In a way, then I started paying attention to other parts of my body too. Like, hey, I'm actually not hungry. And especially then too, I also wasn't moving. I went from working out every day, moving around all day to now not moving at all. And yeah, I was not hungry. If I'm not moving, I'm not using energy, of course, then I'm not hungry. So it just became really clear I wasn't hungry. It became really important for me to start listening to that. It really kickstarted me to focus in on my food habits and my health and my hunger cues again. I wouldn't recommend falling and hurting your back, potentially permanently damaging yourself to kickstart your weight loss regimen, your weight loss journey. But it was the kick in the butt I needed to refocus and purposely take back control in certain areas of my life. Because you already know, if you've listened to the podcast more than one episode, you already know that it wasn't actually about food. Like my overeating wasn't about food being so good. Food wasn't even like the trigger for my weight gain. There were other things happening in my life that just slowly had me feeling a little more out of control with different things in my life. And then food was like the symptom. Overeating was the symptom of, okay, here's how I'm coping with this. I don't have control over here, but here I am. I'll eat this. That'll feel better than thinking about this thing. And so it's all tied together. If you're feeling out of control with food, chances are you're feeling out of control in other areas of your life. How your brain works in one area, it works the same way in other areas. So I don't think food was the trigger. I think other things in my life were feeling out of control, and that's when I was leaning on food again. So all that to say, since I fell last February, over the last year and a few months, I've lost 8 to 10-ish pounds. I went from like being in the high 50s, so like 156, 158-ish to now being at 148. I really range between like 147 to 149 right now. So I was able to do that while continuing to lift weights, while continuing to get stronger, just from focusing on the ready to lose habits, especially listening to my hunger cues. And y'all, I'm not even perfect with it. Just like my first time losing weight, I'm not even perfect with this stuff, y'all. I'm not even perfect, but I'm consistent. And I lost 10 pounds. So all that to say, though, I would like to lose a little more weight. I can even see in my own habits, again, I'm not perfect right now. There's room for improvement. So I fluctuate right now between 147 and 149. The lowest weight I ever got to was like 136-ish. But again, I was not working out the way that I do now. I did not have the muscle mass that I do now. So for reference, I am 5'4", and I have always been dense. That's how I want to describe it. And I think the people who get it, and those who don't, maybe you don't get it. But even when I was in middle school, okay, so I grew up as a competitive swimmer. From the ages of 8 to 18, I was training each day, 2 hours a day, 5 days a week as a competitive swimmer, okay? I was an athlete, and I was pretty good, y'all, okay? I was not just showing up for practice. I was like out there pushing myself. But again, so even in middle school, I was like 13, 14 years old. I weighed 135 back then. I remember actually telling my brother, we were out to dinner. I vividly remember this because, of course, my young child brain, who already had drama about food and body and like how I looked, took this the wrong way. Of course I did, but I remember we were at dinner. Okay. My older brother was there. And I remember somehow it came up like our weight. And he was like, well, what do you weigh? And I was like, I weigh 135. Again, at that moment, not really thinking anything of it. And I remember my brother saying to me, there's no way you weigh that much. Of course, my brain didn't clock the part where he didn't believe I weighed that. It clocked the part of that much. Of course it did, right? It clocked that much. Like my weight is that much. Anyway, so I remember him saying that. And even now when I look at other, I follow like gym YouTubers and all these people, and there's people who are the same height as me, 5'4", and they're like intense muscle. They build all this muscle and they're like 120. And I'm like, okay, I'm not carrying 20 extra pounds of fat. Like when I look at us comparatively, but I do think I am just more dense. And I've talked to other people in my life who feel the same way about themselves and their weight. But all my life, even at my heavier weight, when I would tell people what I weigh, no one believed I ever weighed that much. So that much. But so I actually think now where I am now, even though that might be a lot for some people, I think for myself and my body, 135 would probably be low, like a low weight for me. So I don't really want to get there. Maybe I do. Maybe I'll head there. I'm going to shoot for 140 though. That's my goal, is to get to 140 and see how that goes. And I always tell this to my weight loss clients, and I'll tell you here too. A goal isn't something to like judge yourself, beat yourself up for, or like push yourself so hard to get to. It's just to start heading in a direction. It gives you a direction to head in. There's so many people I've worked with where they're like, this is the number I've always had in mind. We put that out there and we start working towards it. Sometimes they stop early because they're like, hey, actually my lifestyle now, how I feel in my body now, how I look right now, I love this. I don't actually feel the need to keep going to that goal weight. I like where I am now. I've also had some people who put out a number and then they're like, actually, I know that I'm still overeating. I think I could keep going with this. Nothing about this is feeling hard or punitive. So I just want to keep going. I want to see where I go. So a goal weight, again, is just a guideline to give you a direction to head towards. So who knows? Maybe I get there and I'm like, actually, I think I could keep going. Let's see what happens. Or maybe I get there and I'm like, actually, this is perfectly fine. But that's my goal right now, is to get to 140 and see how that feels in this body with my current lifestyle and routines. Because like I said, my body is very different than it was the first time that I lost weight. And so it's only like 8 pounds to lose, right? It's not that far away, but it also feels like so far away. So I'm going to take you along for the ride. And I thought it might be helpful for any of you who also want to recommit this summer and lose some weight. to see how I am planning out my goals and also hear what I'm focusing on and how I'm going to do it. You can steal inspo, of course, but also I don't want any of you comparing and judging yourself based on where I am because everyone's weight loss journey is so different, which is why I do the work that I do. So if you do want more individual support with your own weight loss goals, sign up for a free session and we could totally figure that out together, what your goals are, what that's going to look like for you. These are just going to be ideas that I have for me and my life and my body. But I think the really fun part of this, what I'm excited for to show you, is how simple I am going to make this for myself. Because I am not about doing hard, restrictive, complicated things to lose weight. Some of the things I do now, past me might have found complicated. I won't lie. Like some of the things that I do now, past me might be like, I can't believe we do that. Or we're spending how much time at the gym? Like might have blown my mind. But my life doesn't feel hard. It feels great. And so I'm going to keep that mindset mentality moving forward towards my goal. And I'm not going to be doing anything crazy. I'm not going to be cutting out foods. I'm not going to be doing intense workout programs. I'm probably going to be doing a lot of what I'm doing right now, just a little more consistent with it and maybe challenging my hunger cues a little bit more. But anyway, so 3 months, my goal is to lose 7 to 8 pounds. And I already know this is going to be triggering to some of you who are thinking, oh my God, that's way too slow. Oh my gosh, that should be 1 month, 2 months, not 3. And I want to share with you, one of my clients recently tagged me in a story that she posted on Instagram where she was talking about her weight loss and how this time using the Ready to Lose method, but also working on her relationship with food, it is going slower than she thought it should originally. Like it's slower than she's ever done before, but it also feels so much better for her. She's like, this is the slowest I've ever lost weight. And it's also the best weight loss I've ever done. She's not stressing about the scale going up and down because she knows that the progress she has made is progress that she can keep. She knows how she did it and she feels confident that she can keep going with it. So even if the scale fluctuates, it's not like this triggering event for her anymore. She's like, actually, I know where I am. I'm happy with where I am. I can see the progress I'm making and I get to keep going with that. And I told her that we talked about this on a call after she had tagged me in that. I told her that that's like my secret motivation for all of my clients, really. Not everyone needs this, but so many of us do. I know I did. It was one of the biggest changes for me when I finally lost weight, and it's changed so many Ready to Lose clients' lives, is getting out of that urgency with weight loss and giving yourself and your body permission to let it take as long as it takes. That is one of the most powerful changes you can make for your weight loss. Getting to that mindset, that belief that it's going to take as long as it takes, and I want to keep going. I'm losing weight and my body will take as long as it takes. It's almost like that's not my responsibility. So like even here, I'm putting out a goal, but my job isn't to manipulate the scale to saying 140. My job is to show up consistently as the person I want to be. That is my job. Is that clocking where it's like my job then is like I get to just focus on my habits every day. I don't need to be so triggered by the scale. I don't need to be pushing myself hard to make it go faster. My job is to show up as this person. This might be like frustrating or make some of you mad at that idea, but when you're allowed to lose weight and let it take as long as it takes, now, like I said, you get to focus on you, your habits, what your next step is. You're not trying to push yourself into this extreme version to get there fast. You get to focus on what your actual next step is. Like you could get to the point where you're planning chocolate every other day. You're eating it every day right now. Maybe you start planning it every other day instead of trying to cut it out completely, because you're willing to keep going for as long as it takes. The scale doesn't sabotage you every time you step on it. Every time it fluctuates, you're not like freaking out and spiraling downwards and reaching for food because you know you're going to keep going. It's allowed to take as long as it takes. And then the ironic thing about this, though, is like when you actually get to this mindset where it takes as long as it takes, you let go of this fixation, like you relinquish this control you're trying to grasp for on doing it fast, trying to manipulate your results into a tiny timeline. That is when people actually see results faster and more consistent. And it just feels way better. Like the ironic thing is that when you stop pushing it to be so fast, it usually does happen faster than you think. Because you get to focus on the stuff that matters. The scale doesn't actually matter. You showing up as that future version of you, that's what matters, okay? Your stress eating chocolate during work matters. Your relationship to yourself and what you do each day matters. So 3 months to lose 7 to 8 pounds. Let's do it. Here's what I am focusing on. I know that was already a lot already. So let me walk you through a lot of the things that I'm using are in the Ready to Lose Planner, which is for sale on Amazon if you don't have one yet. Every tool that I'm going to talk through right now is in this planner. It's a 3-month planner. It has everything that I love about planning. I took all the tools that I love for planning and put them into one thing, mostly for me, because there was no planner I could find that had this. And so they're all in here, including my 3-month planning tool, my monthly evaluation and planning tool, then my weekly evaluation and planning tool, and then the daily planning. So those are all things I'm going to be using. But let's look through my goals right now. Let's start with my 3-month planning tool. Okay. I'm going to walk you through these questions and use them if you want. I will also write them out in the show notes of the episode because I know y'all like that. I know y'all like it. I know it's frustrating at times when I'm just saying things and then you can't reference them. So I'll write them out in the show notes. But first thing we do is we write out our commitment, right? In 3 months on this date. So for me, it's going to be the end of September. I will weigh 140 pounds. Or you could say, I will have lost how much weight? You could write it whichever way. I will have lost 8 pounds, or I will weigh however many pounds. The first thing I always like to do with a goal like this is brainstorm where I imagine I will be. And part of doing this, again, it's not just food and weight loss habits. It's thinking about like who you actually are. Like not just the food, but what your life looks like. What are you doing? What are you doing that's different? What are you excited to be doing at that weight? Letting yourself imagine the whole life. Okay, let me walk you through some of these questions that I just answered. I'm kind of doing this in real time, which is honestly so good that I'm doing this episode because my goal was to plan this out and even have this episode up and ready before July started. But that is not what happened. So unintentional tip number 1 is you can do this at any time. I think even when I lost weight the first time, it was like the middle of the month. I just decided to start doing it. You don't have to wait till the 1st. You don't have to have a perfect start to the month. I am planning this out for myself now after July 1st, and it's still going to be super powerful for me, right? It doesn't stop you from getting to your goal just because you didn't start on a Monday or whatever it is, or on the 1st. So again, the first piece, brainstorm where you're going to be at that goal. Looking at your life, career, relationships, family, what you're spending your time on, all of that. And a few things I picked out for myself is that I'm imagining myself more active than I am now, which to some of y'all might be crazy because who was I talking to recently? I was talking to my mother-in-law because we're actually going on this trip in September. We're going to go to Spain and we're doing the Camino de Santiago trail with my father-in-law for his 70th birthday. I keep doing that. Tom, if you're listening, don't be mad. No, for his 70th birthday, we are going to do this big trail or like this pilgrimage and hike that for 7 days. So cool, right? Anyway, I was talking to my mother-in-law about it and I was like, I really need to be walking more to get ready for that. I want to be like just incorporating more walking, like more steps, because we're going to be walking like 10 to 15 miles a day during that. And yeah, I think I could handle it. Like I do work out consistently, whatever, but I don't do a lot of standing and walking throughout the day. But she told me, she goes, well, you should be fine with everything you do. And I told her, I said, what do you think I'm doing? Like, what do you mean everything you do? I think she just meant going to the gym. But we do go to the gym all the time. Very consistent. I just lift weights, y'all. Even half of that, I'm sitting on my butt lifting up some weights. And then I come home and I work and I do a lot of sitting for my work. I have to actively get steps in. So that is something that I think about for myself as like being more active and not just like walking more, but I do want to do that because I love being out with my dogs and walking. We used to go on a lot of hikes when Akira was younger, and we haven't really done that the past couple of years, and I want to do that, partially to get ready for this trip we have coming up, but also because I just love that stuff. If I can go outside and not look at my phone for like hours, my brain just feels so much better. It just feels so good. It feels almost like it can breathe again in a way. Not that my brain breathes, but it feels like that. But part of that is also like golfing more with friends and family. in my garden more. Like I just want to be out and active as much as possible. And so I imagine that's a little different than where I'm at now. I'm proud of myself for being active each day, not reaching for snacks as much, especially when I'm not hungry. Other questions. I'm eating things like, I'm consistent with, like, these are all fill in the blank questions in this planner, right? So I'm eating things like, for me, obviously fruits and veggies. We love that. When I think about it, I'm having fun meals, especially when I'm out and about. Like I'm getting fun meals and I'm enjoying them and letting them go. So it's not even about only eating fruits and veggies. But what I think about is like I'm eating things and then I'm letting them go. I love the idea of that. I eat it and then I can let it go. I don't have to finish it because it's so good, or I don't have to get more of it when I get home because it's so good. I can't help it. I eat it and I let it go. I am more consistent with, for me, it's sleep. Sleep is one where over the past year haven't been as consistent with it. So I want to be more consistent with sleep, which directly ties into my late night snacking. Of course it does. And also my hunger cues and planning. Like I said, I've already become more consistent with those, but I'm not perfect, y'all. So I want to be more consistent with those things. There's other questions on here like planning is easier because, following my plan is easier because, hunger signals are easier to listen to because, right? Like you just want to be thinking about why things are different for future you. Another way I like to think about it too is, why does future me love doing these things? Even that example I gave already, like I eat food and I let it go. Why do I love that so much? I love that idea and that feeling that I can trust myself, but also like food doesn't control me. I love that. Love that idea. Same with water and sleep. All of our basic habits in here, basically you want to be asking yourself, why is this easier for me at this goal? Or what am I thinking about it differently? What am I doing differently? Another one, this one's very important. When I make mistakes, I remind myself what? Ooh, some of us need to hear this right now. We need to decide this right now. When I make mistakes, I remind myself what? Are you going to be thinking that you're a total failure and you totally can't do this? No, that's not going to help you get to your goal, right? Instead, maybe it is, when I make mistakes, I remind myself that I can learn from this and do better next time. Basically, what do I want to make this mean now? What do I want this to mean for me now? What might get in my way over the next 90 days? Important to think about. Obstacles are only obstacles if we don't think about them. And how am I going to overcome them? Okay, so we want to think about what obstacles might get in the way and how will I overcome them? And then the last part of this planning page is, why are my goals important to me? Why are my goals important to me? So even for me, losing 8 extra pounds, right? My 3 reasons are, and you can judge me for these if you'd like, but 1, I do want to feel hot and sexy AF. Okay, you should not be surprised. That was one of my motivating thoughts when I first lost weight. Okay, I like feeling good in my body, and I do feel a lot of that right now, even in my body. Like I'm like, oh, I look good. I feel good. But I want to take it to the next level. Going along with that, I want to be an example of what is possible. This is a thought I got from one of my coaches, and I just love every time she says it because she is such an example of what's possible. And I love showing y'all through the podcast, showing my clients, showing even friends and family what could be possible, that you can change your habits, that you can do different things with food. And I also just want more energy and strength for my life. I like feeling good in my life. And y'all, I am a 34-year-old. I do have aches and pains that weren't there before. And so I just know, instead of that being defeating, because sometimes when I talk to friends, they're like, oh, what's the point? Why bother? Now I'm going to be in pain forever. And instead, if you have a similar thought, that is why it is so motivating to do these things now. Like for me, it's my mobility routine when I'm at the gym. I am so motivated to do that because I love feeling good. I love staying strong. And I do not want my back to continue acting up. I want to be helping it and doing everything I can to set myself up for that. Same with having a long and fulfilling life. I want to have longevity and health moving into like just right now, but even the rest of my life. I want to set myself up. One way I heard it recently is like, if you think about the future version of you who's not like just a year from now or like 2 years from now, but if you think about the version of yourself who's like 20 years down the road, is there anything that she wishes you were doing now? And for a lot of people, it is exercise, mobility, movement, but it also can be weight loss. Oh my gosh, I will feel so much better. My joints will be feeling so much better if I let go of some of this extra weight. Or I will be feeling so much better if I have this muscle mass that helps me do the things I want to do in my life. So that is, of course, one of my big reasons why as well. So that's the 3-month planning tool. It really gets you thinking about what you want to be doing and how you want to be feeling in your life. Now let's move on to our monthly plan. Okay, so we take that, all of these planning tools, you just kind of like break it down a little smaller. So for me, the monthly planning tool, it starts with your stats. Here's what I weigh. We do put them out there. Okay, we do want to be tracking, am I getting closer to my goal? But this is really the only time we're going to be thinking about them that much. Okay, my weight, my measurements. So that is like measuring around my neck, my hips, my waist, my thigh. I also add my shoulders and my arm on there. Those aren't on there, but I just add them myself because I like to track those. And then also based on what I wrote down for my 3-month planning, what am I committed to doing this month? And for me, this month, I am committed to planning and reflecting on my plan daily. All of a sudden, I'll have like a few days where I'm not, either because we traveled and I just forgot, or life gets stressful and I think I can do that later. I want to break that habit, those like negative habits that are getting in my way. So I'm committed to planning and reflecting on it daily. The questions are, right, like what am I committed to and how am I going to do that? Then you get to ask what might get in my way. Notice that's a theme. We keep thinking what might get in my way of my commitment. For me, it might be work stress. Often, if I get overwhelmed with work, which does happen at times, my brain loves to overthink things I have to do. I'm just a girl, but I'll have a thought like, I'll do that later. I'll do this now and then I'll get to my plan later. If these things happen, the things that might get in my way, if that happens, what will I do? For me, a lot of it is self-talk. So if I'm thinking, I don't have time now, I can't do that now, it might be even just the thought of like, this is a non-negotiable. I actually stole that from one of our clients recently. She's like, this is just not a non-negotiable because of XYZ, right? So this is a non-negotiable. This is my commitment. That could be a thought. Another one is to remind myself it only takes 5 minutes. Another thing I have on my list of like how I'm going to work through this is to use my tools from coaching. We have so many tools in Ready to Lose coaching. For any obstacle, there is a worksheet, there is a video that will help you through it. So I'm going to lean on them myself, especially our feeling tools. Those help me so much. In fact, I have a freebie for y'all, how to feel any emotion, that I have linked in the show notes if you want to download that and try that yourself. It is so helpful to use for any emotional eating, but also urges and cravings. It works exactly the same way. Other questions on here for planning for the month. If excuses come up, what do I want to tell myself? Why is my health important to me? This month, I look forward to learning. I'm going to feel successful at the end of this month if, and what can I change in my routine to make my habits easier? These are all questions on the monthly planning sheet. I'm not going to go through them all right now for you, but just know my commitment is to plan each day this month and see how that goes. Planning and reflecting. The reflecting piece is also important. I know we talk about planning a lot here, but a lot of the work, like how you take your planning to the next level, is you take the time to look at it and what was working, what wasn't. So the last tool I want to walk you guys through today, I know this is already like a longer episode, is the weekly evaluation tool. So this is where you take what you're focusing on for the month and reflect on it and use that to make a plan each week. Again, we have that big goal we're reaching towards, and then we break that down. I break that down into like what's happening this month. Okay, then what's happening this week to get me closer? And then even like on a smaller level, here's what's happening each day. We need to have that direction, not just be randomly shooting around trying stuff or like, you know what, I saw this workout on Instagram, let me try that. No, you need to have an idea of where you're going and what that looks like for you this month and then this week and then this day. So our weekly evaluation tool, this is one of my favorite tools. Basically, in Ready to Lose coaching, you're not allowed to weigh yourself if you don't do this first. It's just a rule. You can adopt this rule. You're not allowed to weigh yourself each week until you reflect first. Because this is where we're going to get that data of like, how did I actually do this week and what got in my way? Okay, so like if I did fall off of planning this week, okay, why? What happened? When did that happen? Maybe I start the week strong, but by Thursday, that's when I start getting overwhelmed and I stop showing up for it, right? So you're going to reflect on all of your habits. Like I said, in the planner, there's a tool to do this. It walks you through how to reflect on each habit, and then you weigh yourself. Reflect first, then weigh yourself. I have so many episodes about my weigh-in process. This is really it, but it is that weekly evaluation tool. So you look at what you weighed. How much progress did you make or not make towards your goal? What do you think about that? We're always coming back to our thoughts. What do I want to purposely think about this? How can I get myself to keep going? Because that's what matters. That's what helps you reach your goal, is if you keep showing up for it. How did I do a good job this week? what do I want to do more of next week? What do I want to do less of? So when I think about my goal of committing to planning, okay, obviously I'm going to be showing up for all these habits on different levels, but my big commitment is I'm going to plan each day. And if I fell off for some reason, I know, right? Like maybe I didn't plan each day. What am I going to do more of? I'm not going to just write a plan. Okay, obviously. What am I going to do more of? I'm going to exercise more. Okay, that's like so not helpful. No offense. I've had thoughts like that in the past. So not helpful. What am I going to do more of next week? Okay, well, if I fell off because I was thinking I had to get to work and I didn't have time, or running late for the gym, I don't have time. What I'm going to be doing more of next week is telling myself it doesn't take that long. It doesn't take that long. It only takes 5 minutes. Or maybe I'm going to be doing more, reminding myself why it's so important. That's what I'm going to be doing more of, not just writing a plan, right? What am I going to be doing less of next week? So that's really that weekly evaluation tool. And I'm going to have some of these questions. Like I said, I can't list them all out in the show notes. It would just be way too long. But I'm going to list out the 3-month planning questions so you can have those to start planning out your goal for the summer too. All right. And so that's what I'm going to be doing. And maybe if you guys want, let me know in the comments or message me on Instagram. If you want updates on this, I would love to update you guys, or how you really want that. Like if you want a bonus episode or like a mini episode, like here's how my weight loss is going. Or if you just want me to talk about it maybe at the start of an episode, or maybe at the end, maybe I could do like a bonus segment of like, here's how my weight loss is going this month. Let me know, because I would love to keep you guys in the loop about this. But just know for this month, I am focusing on my daily planning. If you want to copy that, make that your goal too, go for it. Let's keep each other accountable. Get your own Ready to Lose planner in the show notes if you'd like, or sign up for a free session if you want more help with this, of what this looks like for you. Because weight loss is so different for all of us. What works for me isn't going to be what works for the next person, isn't going to be what works for you. Like your goals are going to be totally different than mine, as they should be. We're not the same people. So that's what I got for you today. Cheer me on if you want to. Also, I totally am down for that. I would love your support while I go towards my own goal as well. And I'd also love to support you. So until next week, remember, you've totally got this. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you for taking time today to listen in. If this helped you at all, be sure to share it with a friend so she can stop feeling stuck and start creating the health and self-love she deserves. Or post it to social media and tag me so I can personally thank you for helping me get the message out. I am so excited to be on this journey with you. Keep showing up for you. You'll get there. Talk to you soon.